This is Algebra 2, test number 7. This is our study guides, test number 7. This is part 2. Starting out at number 10, says 5 divided by the square root of 2. You have to undo the square root of 2 by rationalizing the denominator. So multiply it by the square root of 2 over 2. When you multiply straight across, 5 times the square root of 2 is 5 times the square root of 2. And the square root of 2 times the square root of 2, this is actually incorrect. The square root of 2 times the square root of 2 is the square root of 4. You actually wind up with 5 times the square root of 2 over the square root of 2 of square root of 4, which simplifies back to 2 is the final answer. Number 11 says simplify 8 times the square root of 20. Remember your perfect square is 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4, 5 times 5, 6 times 6. What numbers out of those, it keeps going, what number out of those can you multiply by to get to 20? The answer is 4. So when you separate 20, you separate it into 4 times 5. The square root of 4 is 2. So you multiply 8 times 2 to get 16 times the square root of 5. Separate 12, again, 4 times 3, 2 times the square root of 3. Number 13 says 2 plus negative 10 is negative 8, and 4 says 4 times negative 2 is negative 8. 35 divided by 5 is 7. 8 over the square root of 7, again, rationalize it. Multiply it by the square root of 7 over the square root of 7. 8 times, go straight across with it. 8 times the square root of 7 is 8 times the square root of 7. And the square root of 7 times the square root of 7 will give you the square root of 49, which simplifies back to 7. 17 says multiply and see if you can simplify it. 6 times 2 gives you the square root of 12. That separates into the perfect square 4 times 3, which gives you 2 times the square root of 3. Then you have to FOIL. In fact, let's take this one step at a time. F stands for the first two numbers. Negative 5 times negative 3 gives you a positive 15. Then O stands for the outer two numbers. Negative 5 times the square root of 10. I stands for the inner two numbers. Negative square root of 10 times a negative 3. That's positive 3 times the square root of 10. And L stands for the last two numbers. That's negative square root of 10 and positive square root of 10. So it gives you 15 minus 5 times the square root of 10 plus 3 times the square root of 10 minus the square root of 100. When you combine those like terms, negative 5 and positive 3 give you negative 2 times the square root of 10. Then you can combine the like terms. Negative square root of 100 is 10. 15 minus 10 is 5. This is minus 2 times the square root of 10. 20 says negative 5 minus the square root of 3 squared. So you need to multiply that binomial by itself 2 times. So negative 5 minus the square root of 3 times negative 5 minus the square root of 3. FOIL it out. Negative 5 times negative 5 is positive 25. Negative 5 times negative square root of 3 is positive 5 times the square root of 3. Negative square root of 3 times negative 5 is positive 5 times the square root of 3. And negative square root of 3 times negative square root of 3 is positive square root of 9. Combine 5 and 5 and you get 10 times the square root of 3. And then the square root of 9 is 3. Then combine 25 and 3 to get 28 plus 10 times the square root of 3. FOIL this one out. The square root of 5 times the square root of 5 is the square root of 25. Square root of 5 times the negative square root of 7 is negative square root of 35. Square root of 7 times positive square root of 5 is positive square root of 35. And positive square root of 7 times the negative square root of 7 is negative square root of 49. These two cancel each other out, negative square root of 5 and positive square root of 5. So you're left with the square root of 25, which is 5, minus the square root of 49, which is 7, which gives you negative 2. 21, distribute 3 times negative 3y is negative 9y. 3 times 8 is positive 24 minus 4y. Combine negative 9y and negative 4y to get negative 13y plus 24. Get rid of a minus 7y by adding it to both sides. Leaves you with 16y plus 11 equals negative 1. Get rid of plus 11 by subtracting it on both sides. 16y is equal to negative 12. Divide by 16 and get rid of multiplying by 16. Leaves you with negative 12 over 16, which simplifies to negative 3 over 4. 23, you have to distribute 6 times y to get 6y, and 6 times 4 to get 24. Get rid of negative 3y by adding it to both sides. Leaves you with 8 equals 9y plus 24. Get rid of plus 24 by subtracting it on both sides. Leaves you with negative 16 equals 9y. Divide by 9 to cancel out multiplying by 9 on both sides. And you're left with negative 16 over 9 is y. Distribute 6 times x, you get 6x. 6 times negative 0.8, you get negative 4.8. Negative 0.2 times 5x, you get negative 1x. And negative 0.2 times negative 4 to get a positive 0.8 equals 4. Then combine 6x and negative 1x to get 5x, and negative 4.8 and positive 0.8 to get negative 4. So you have 5x minus 4 equals 4. Get rid of minus 4 by adding it to both sides. You have 5x equals 8. Divide by 5 to cancel out, multiplying it on both sides. X equals 8 over 5. 25, 1 equals x over 8 minus 7. Get rid of minus 7 by adding it to both sides. So you have 8 equals x over 8. Get rid of x divided by 8 by multiplying 8 on both sides. 8 times 8 is 64. Get rid of positive 9 by subtracting 9 on both sides. 8n is equal to 32. Get rid of 8 times something by dividing it by 8 on both sides. And n's value is equal to 4. 27, multiply 3 times y and 3 times 2, you get 3y plus 6 equals 36. Subtract 6 on both sides, 3y equals 30. Divide by 3 on both sides, y equals 10. Do what's inside parentheses first. Negative 3 plus 5 squared would be negative 3 plus 25. And then 4 minus 2 is 2. Cubed. Do what's inside parentheses first again. Negative 3 plus 25 is positive 22. 2 cubed means 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. 22 times 8 is 176. 29 says make a mapping diagram of the relation. Put all of your x's in one side in numerical order, counting from smallest to largest, and all of your y's on the other side, again in numerical order, counting from smallest to largest. You don't have to repeat any numbers. The arrows you draw show the relations themselves. Negative 2 goes with negative 3. 1 goes with 3. 3 goes with negative 5. And 4 goes with 1. It says for f of x equals 3x minus 4. What about f of negative 1? So in place of x, you're plugging in negative 1. So f of negative 1 equals 3 times negative 1 minus 4. Multiply 3 times negative 1 to get negative 3 minus 4. So f of negative 1 is negative 3 minus 4, which is negative 7. 31 says to graph y equals 2/3 x minus 2. Different ways to graph. This is the slope-intercept form way to graph because you're shown the slope, 2 over 3, and you're shown the intercept, more specifically the y-intercept at negative 2. B, the B value is the y-intercept. That shows you where to begin. It tells you to begin on the y-axis at negative 2. So you begin there at negative 2 here. Then M tells you the slope, tells you where to move. It's positive 2, which means to go up, over positive 3, which tells you to go to the right. So from where you begin at negative 2, you go up 2 and to the right 3 times to put your second point here. Then draw a line connecting the 2. Find the slope passing through these pair of points. Your slope formula is y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. Y sub 2's value is 3 minus y sub 1 is 4. Over x sub 2 is 3 minus x sub 1 is 9. 3 minus 4 is negative 1. 3 minus 9 is negative 6. Negative 1 divided by negative 6 is positive 1 over 6 as your slope. Then it says to evaluate y equals x plus 6 times x minus 2 when x is equal to 4. So in place of x, we're plugging in 4. So y equals 4 plus 6 times 4 minus 2. Do what's in parentheses first. Y equals 10 times 2. Y equals 20. 34 says name the property. We have 3 times x plus 8, and you get 3x plus 24. That's the distributive property because it distributes to both things. 2.9 plus 0 equals 2.9. It stays the same from beginning to end. Its identity does not change. Identity property of addition. 36 says 2a plus 4b when a is negative 2 and b is negative 3. In place of a, we plug in negative 2. In place of b, we plug in negative 3. So 2 times negative 2 plus 4 times negative 3. 2 times negative 2 is negative 4. 4 times negative 3 is negative 12. Negative 4 minus 12 is negative 16. Then we're plugging in negative 2 in place of x. So negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 plus 5. Negative 2 squared is negative 2 times negative 2, which is 4. Minus 4 times negative 2 plus 5. Due to multiplication, next, negative 4 times negative 2 is positive 8. And then combine your like terms. 4 plus 8 is 12 plus 5 is 17.